Welcome to the Magentlemen Podcast. I got Trey Hope here. Steve T is out for the day, but since we have a special guest in the building today, I had to move forward with the pod without him. As usual, if you're here for the first time, thanks for checking us out. And if you're here for the end time, we love and appreciate you, and we hope you enjoy the pod. So, yeah, Trey is a developer. I met out here, a developer and content creator. I met out here in Medellin, and we kind of made plans last time to, uh, you know, get together and shoot some content the next time he was back in Medellin. So yeah, I'm just happy to have him on the pod. Gonna do a kind of interview type podcast today, and yeah, I hope you guys like it. So yeah, Trey, can you? I'm just gonna go and throw some questions out there, and then we'll just kind of like take it from there and see where it goes. Sound good to you?
That sounds good to me, man. And also thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I was looking up at the number, it said episode 25. So I gotta salute you for making it consistent. You know what I mean? Like consistent content. That's dope. So thank you for having me.
Well, I would. I mean, we haven't been really consistent, so
It's you putting out the numbers. The numbers are on the board. I'll say
yeah,
that.
we've been recently more. We've been recently consistent. We were pretty consistent, like during the pandemic, like in the middle of the pandemic, and
Yeah.
then I got busy. My co-host got busy, and then we kind of fell off for a little bit. But like for the last, I would say month or so, we've been pretty consistent at shooting, and like we're doing reactions and stuff now also. And I think you're our first interview. That's something we were talking about for a while that never really happened. So yeah, we're trying to get to the consistency. And I was literally telling my host yesterday that we have to like celebrate the like we have to start counting the episodes so that like we can celebrate once we eat like as we hit each milestone, whether that be like the 100 video, the 200 video, or the I don't know the first 1,000 subscribers, etc. So
Yeah.
so yeah,
Nah,
we're trying to be as consistent as you. What you were gonna say?
nah, I was gonna say like that's good. Even if it's just a recent consistent, the numbers are on the board and that's all that matters. So I
No,
salute.
I appreciate the positivity.
Sure, for sure.
uh, so yeah, first question. I think I kind of like asked you this when we first linked up, but I don't. We didn't go into too much detail. Like, you told me like you had a what like a decade in web development. How did you start? How did you know like you wanted to be a developer? Like, was it intentional? Just kind of give us your background. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, so when I was growing up, my mother was a web designer, and I think early on I got a introduction to computers a little bit earlier than maybe some other kids probably would at my age. But
Hmm.
coupling that with seeing her have a job where she never had to leave the house and was still able to be creative in her own right, I always admired that and thought that was cool. So I started, as I got older, I started playing with certain software applications like Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator and things like that, more on the graphic design end. But once I got to college, I didn't really want to go the graphic design route anymore. I wanted to do something, I guess, a little bit more direct with the applications. So I took a chance and just signed up for like computer science at my university. And after I took my first programming class, I think I just saw where it was going. Even back then, back in like 2010, I saw like how powerful it was to like command computers and instruct them to do certain things. So after that, I fell in love with it, and that's kind of how I ended up in software development. From there, I just took several jobs and kept learning, kept growing.
That's dope. You said your mom was a web designer and she was working from home from back then.
Yeah, this was early. I'm trying to, if I had to guess the years, it definitely was in elementary. So I was young, early 2000s. But
Okay.
she was it was new because I never seen that anywhere. Like
Yeah.
Like we saw computers, but like we wasn't using them in a remote lifestyle like that back then, and she was. So I was like, that's dope.
Your mom is a pioneer in the
And
digital nomad space. It
he
sounds
is.
like good.
It's,
So just so I understand, like, was she doing freelance work, or was she working for a company and they allowed her to work remotely, like back
nah,
then?
she was like literally doing freelance. Like she had actual clients that she would talk with, had schedules set up in in a very organized fashion. But it was definitely all her. You know what I'm saying? Because there was times where like it might be a drought. She might not have any clientele. So that's how I knew she was doing her own thing. You know what I'm saying? She was definitely riding the wave of the ups and the downs when it comes to doing like freelance.
That's dope because like I honestly didn't expect that as like the origin story.
Yes, it is what it is, though.
No, no, that's cool because like a lot of people, well, especially like people from our background, we don't really have that, I guess, that role model in this space to kind of push us and into tech. It just kind of like happens. Like for me, I didn't really my introduction to software development wasn't like that at all because there was nobody um around me doing that even knew like what programming was. I mean, FY I grew up in the Bahamas. I don't know if I told you that when we met up,
Yeah.
but I like I mean I literally like yeah, it was just like a dream for me like to even like think that yeah, one day I'd be a software engineer. It wasn't like I had someone right there like doing it or in the industry to kind of inspire me. So like I think that's like dope as hell. So okay, so you go to school, right? You get into computer science, and then what's the first job? Uh, what was your first job? Like, what technology were you working on? What actually like what language? Which technology stack? Even if you like, did you even start as a software developer, or did you start like I don't know, like in like IT support or something, and then got transitioned into a software role? How did that work out for you?
My first job out of college was it was a web developer role, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working with JavaScript. This was a time when I think Angular was kind of hot. So we were using Angular a lot as far as our JavaScript framework. Um, and it was a consultancy firm. So it was like pretty much we were making client apps. And that was cool for me to see that because early on, I started to understand like how much money was behind this stuff because there would be guys coming in with talking about, I need $1 million app. I'm just like, yo, I get a salary. You know what I'm saying? I get a salary of that, but like I didn't know millions was behind this stuff. So like early on, I was like, oh, tech is really something's going to be big here in a few years. So, but that first job, I definitely am very appreciative of it because it's like they kind of taking a chance on you when you fresh out of college. They don't know you haven't really had experience yet, so they taking a chance. But I learned so much at that job. I learned what it's like working with people on a team, the levels of development from like QA, design, project management, just all the different layers that go into making the application. I saw it early on, so that was my first job. It was a called Amadeus Consulting.
Nice. And how long were you there?
I was there for a year and a half, actually, a year and a
A,
half.
ye- a year and a half. Was it
Yeah.
was it was it like I'm just curious because like my intro into the industry was a little chaotic. And I know like agency, like I run an agency right now, so I know like that can be kind of tough balancing projects and stuff. Do you feel like it was? Were there like a lot of fires to put out? A lot like were you? Did you get pushed into the deep end right away, or do you feel like you had like lots of support and stuff, and you had like a chance to grow and experiment and kind of
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think mine was definitely pretty smooth. I don't really remember anything being too chaotic when it came to like my development process. Like I'm a just go ahead and say I'm very blessed, like
Yeah.
entire process because like being black in tech can already be difficult. So just like
Yeah.
being granted certain opportunities for me to keep going, I'm very appreciative of that. So I can't really recall anything that was like too chaotic or too much of a burden.
Yeah, good. I mean, good thing you didn't start off at like a startup with yes. I mean I worked at a startup my first year. That was pretty interesting, being like a junior developer and like having responsibilities right away. So
How many people was on your team at the startup, if you
um
remember?
shoot, I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 in-house devs and then like 3 or 4 people overseas, like from like Pakistan or in India.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I came in in like less than 6 months. I was like expected to commit code and put out fires and the site's going down and it's just like
I mean,
crazy.
how did it go though? Were you able to eventually like overcome and transition how you needed to?
Yeah, I would say like, I definitely what did they say? Like you could either like crumble or the under the pressure, or like you could like it could toughen you up, you could become like a diamond. I don't know. Like I'm messing up
I get what you're saying. I get the gist
yeah,
of it.
right. So I definitely feel like, I became a diamond, right? It toughened me up. I learned so much in a very short period of time. Like I was working because again, to me, not having a mentor, not having someone that I knew was in the industry that could kind of like give me some insight, it was just like always like this dream that was so far away from me. And like I like every minute of every day, like every weekend, I'm just doing as much as I could do to like impress my bosses, to learn everything, like reading the documentation, reaching out on Reddit, I even like there's a site called freelancer.com. Like I went on there, paid people to like walk me through coding problems I was having. Um, what else? Reached out on LinkedIn to try to find mentors and stuff like that. I was just like, man, I need to make this thing work. So I was easily working 70, 80 hours a week, especially while working at the startup. Just because like there was so much work to do, and the senior guys, actually Steve T, who's my co-host now, was the lead front end developer. Yeah, but it was like a small team of people at a startup, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fires to put out, new features that need to be put out, projects that are behind and stuff. And I'm just this new person trying to figure it all out and trying to launch my career, but I don't have that many resources. And this is my first job, so I don't want to like make up a whole bunch of excuses. Whatever my boss is telling me to do, I'm just like, yeah, I can do it. Or if I don't know how to do it, I'll figure it out. Meanwhile, I'm like up at 3 a.m. I'm up at 3 a.m. like stressing out, like, dang, like tomorrow's the deadline. I need to push this thing and it still has bugs. So I would say the first year and a half, 2 years of my career were like pretty stressful. And on top of that, I was working on a framework called Magento 2, which isn't like super popular, but like it's a really difficult framework to learn. If you ever like look it up and stuff, you'll see like people complaining all over the internet, Stack Overflow, Reddit, etc., complaining about um, Magento 2. It's just not something.
Is it like a payment framework system or something?
It's a well, it's basically like WordPress.
Okay.
um like WordPress is kind of designed for blogging. You have like a framework, or like you have a base um like architecture or skeleton, right, of a website, and it has like basic features like, user authentication,
Yeah.
um I don't know, the ability to publish, edit content, create new pages, design a footer or a homepage, etc. Magento has the same thing, but it's designed towards e-commerce. So you have the ability to manage products, set prices, upload product images, etc., etc. And then you kind of build on top of that, right? You build a custom front end for based off of the customer's brand. You kind of configure their payment gateway, their bank, like so that their once payments process, they can get their payments in PayPal or Braintree, whatever
Yeah.
payment gateway they use. But it's like it's a really big, like complicated, like way more complicated than Upwork. I'm sorry, than WordPress. And usually it's like big websites. If you've I don't know if you've ever worked in the e-commerce space, but the e-commerce space is like super sensitive. If a customer's site is down for like an hour, we're talking about thousands, in some case millions of dollars being lost. So like
Yeah.
you're always like you always have to be ready to like put out a fire really quickly, and that's where
That's what makes you a great developer, though, when you put them fires out. If you can,
yeah. I
and
definitely think it didn't make me, yeah, it didn't make, it gave me a lot of stress. I got probably a couple of white hairs, like a couple of gray hairs in the process, but yeah, I don't feel like I'm worse off for it. Like working on a platform that doesn't like you don't need to like put out fires so quickly and be so reactive. Yeah, it's like cake to me,
yeah,
right, compared to the world I'm from. But yeah, so I mean, sorry to like kind of derail it and kind of bring things into my world. So I'm gonna take it back to you. Um, okay, so you get this job. It was not a lot of pressure. You're a junior dev. You're allowed to be a junior dev. Sounds like you had support and stuff like that. But how did you actually land a job? Like, was it an internship? Did somebody refer you? Like, what was the process? Because a lot of people find it difficult to land that first job.
yeah, that's an interesting question. Um, I don't even know if I really have an answer on how I got it. Because I applied to like maybe like five different jobs. Like as I was
Mhm.
graduating, kind of had some decent jobs lined up. Unfortunately, however, back in like early college, I had like went to jail. I had like a misdemeanor for like petty theft and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like I couldn't get certain jobs. Like internships was like, nah, he's got something on his record, cancel them. So as I graduated, some of those jobs started like kind of fall apart. But this job, I don't know what it was. It was in a different state. It was in Denver, Colorado. So maybe they just had like a maybe there was more lax and stuff like that. But they saw my resume and just like, you know what? They went take a shot on me. So but I definitely don't have like a formula of like how I got it because it could it could have easily went the other way if for any reason, you know what I'm saying? I guess I would just say I definitely applied to as many jobs as I could, knowing my circumstances.
And you were applying what in your senior year?
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't one of those that was applying early like junior year. Like I
Okay.
wasn't that guy like that to be applying junior year. I was applying senior year as I was graduating.
And did you have like any, not necessarily like web development experience, but any like experience in the tech space at all? Like me, I started off, I had like a tech support job on campus before I transitioned into like my web development position, my web development internship. Did you have any experience in tech at all prior to that first job?
Yeah, for sure. I had I had did like maybe like two or three different internships prior to graduating. They were like 6 month internships at they were in like random places in Ohio, like Blue Ash and some other city name. But like they were like companies that would just be like in the middle of nowhere, but they were good internships and they were all tech related. And so I had experience with those. I also worked as like a web developer for my university on campus. So that was interesting, like seeing that side of things. So and then also just being in school for it, I was working with it, kind of day in and day out. So I definitely had a good amount of experience by the time I needed to go look for a job.
Got it. Got it. So yeah, I forgot. I I just heard you say, yeah, you're from you mentioned Ohio.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't remember. You're born and raised in Ohio.
Yep. Trotwood, Ohio.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been to Cleveland one time just randomly. Got like got like pulled into those like those pyramid, not pyramid scheme things, but essentially like those people that approach you that are like, are you interested in making extra money?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Huh?
They got you out there in Cleveland on the pyramid scheme.
Yeah. So one year I was like super broke, like, and somebody just randomly approached me. I think it was in Panera. Somebody approached me in Panera, and he was like, "Are you interested in making extra money on the side?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Next thing, I'm in a meeting, and then this dude is giving me like some speech about how he was broke and living in his car, and now he makes $100,000 a month. And then the
Yeah.
week after that, I spent $500 to join, and then and I'm on a bus to Cleveland, Ohio.
He was dedicated for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, just randomly. I mean, I was like, you know what? Even if this doesn't work out, even if I don't become a billionaire, at least I can say I went to Cleveland, Ohio, right?
I mean,
it,
yeah, I guess
it'll be
so.
a cool story,
I've only
huh?
been to Cleveland. I've only been to Cleveland once in my life, so I can't really say too much either. But it's about 4 hours from where I'm at in travel. I say about 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, something like
Nah,
that.
now we drove there from Florida. Probably took like 12 hours in a cramped bus. Me and a bunch of like other random people that I got convinced to join this thing. But yeah, just a random story. So now you do Flutter, right? Like um you work with you use Flutter day to day. Like, can you tell us what is Flutter, and I guess yeah, how you started using Flutter, like, and what type of solutions you're working on, or what types of projects you're working on using Flutter?
Yeah. So to start, Flutter it's a UI development framework essentially. So it allows you to create applications, but the one of the biggest benefits of Flutter is you can make these applications for web, desktop, mobile. Pretty much the whole ecosystem of an application is covered from one single code base. So I'm sure you know this, but prior to like Flutter or React Native or any type of like hybrid framework, you would need an Android developer, an iOS developer, web developer, and you can see how already that's a lot of time and resources. But Flutter said, you know what, we're going to cancel out all that extra work. We're going to give it one code base and deploy it to all these platforms. And so I personally don't know any other framework that is doing as many platforms as Flutter is. And so to me, that's kind of like what draws me into it for using it the most. Like currently right now, I'm using it. I use it at my job. I work for a startup where they like pretty much have a like brick and mortar location that help kids with their physical skills, the mental skills, building their character. And I work on the tech team that makes the application that allows the coaches to communicate with the parents and the other faculty and things like that. But I use Flutter there, but then I'm using Flutter also for my personal work. I had made a game in Flutter. It's crazy how I'm just using Flutter in so many ways, but I made a game in Flutter maybe like 2 years ago for iOS and Android. It was called Gift Grab, and essentially the premise was Santa would collect as many gifts as he could in the world while trying to avoid ice blocks and, of course, pick up power-ups. And I put it on those platforms. Unfortunately, it didn't go through iOS because iOS is very stingy with like their passing process. So I was like, you know what? Let me just make it a web app, and that's what I'm doing right now. So now I can just send people the link, and they just play the game like that. Because I really just want people. I really want to get in the habit of making apps that are actually useful for people, and I think this is like a good start just to see if people can have fun with this very simplistic but potentially addictive game. We'll see, but yeah, Flutter is definitely a game changer.
What did you say the name of your app was?
It's called Gift Grab. So like
Gift grab.
gabbing gifts.
Grabbing, grabbing gifts.
Yeah, I couldn't say it. Grabbing gifts. So Santa's grabbing the gifts essentially.
You're gonna make a marketing. I mean, since it's like Christmas themed, you're gonna try to make a marketing push this upcoming Christmas season.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. If I can get it on a web app, I might have to talk to a few people and see what we can do. For sure. I've been working on it for a while. It's on the platforms that it's kind of hard to get people to try things out when it's not easy for them to go download the app or get it.
Yeah, definitely. Like people don't want to do like take extra steps and stuff, but I mean, like shoot the link over at the end of the pod, so then like I could check it out and then I could share it with the audience also. You say
Yeah,
what?
it's not functional yet, but once it is, I will share the link. I don't want to get the link and you get to the site and it's like this site don't exist or something like. Nah, I can't go out like that.
Four not found.
Nah, I can't for you like that. So once I get it set up, then I'm gonna send you the link.
Okay, so Gift Grab gonna be in stores, launching in all markets in December.
I like that timeline.
Dope. Yeah. So okay, question I had was you said Flutter was a front end framework. Does that mean someone else is developing the back end on your team and you're just doing the front end elements, making sure the front end is interactive, building out I guess the UI and user flows and stuff like that, and someone else is building out the back end and you interact with the API, and is that how everything is set up?
For the most part, yeah. It's typically, as a Flutter developer, you most likely are going to work with APIs. That's probably like the deepest level you will go, and I guess the architecture level with Flutter is calling the API to get the data. Like for the jobs, I don't know. Can you hear that?
No.
Okay, good.
Can you hear it on my end?
Nah, I can't hear it. That's crazy, but it's loud as heck. Nah, I can't hear it. But so yeah, with Flutter, like the deepest level you would go is like calling the APIs. Like for jobs that I've had, it's typically someone on the back end that is creating these databases in whatever platform, whether it's Firebase, MongoDB, or whatever it is, and then creating these APIs that Flutter would call. But yeah, to your point, typically that's how it is. I'm definitely focused more so on like the UI, how things are functioning, the user experience, how they should receive the data, when things should be loading, reloading, et cetera, et cetera. So it's more of a hands-on visual approach to the development process.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, just in case we have some like newbies, people just trying to get into tech right now, that don't understand this, right? You're more of like front end, or more like a front end dev.
Yeah.
And
front end just smoother to me. Like
yeah,
back end's cool, but it's just like it can get dull just seeing, like there's no visual representation that's appealing as a back end developer. Unless I'm missing something, but like when you're dealing with like
you're talking smack about what I do.
No. See, I know you. That's much respect to the back end developers because we need y'all. But I'm saying from my perspective, if I was seeing what y'all saw every day, I might go crazy. I need to see like fresh images and visuals and text and colors and things like that to kind of stay awake. But the back end is mass important, because I always say I'd rather have an app that works and doesn't look good than an app that looks good and doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the back end is most important.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely like both sides are absolutely necessary, right? I mean, it's okay to have like an ugly UI, but who wants an ugly UI? Right? And it's harder to market an ugly app. So so yeah, both sides are important. And yeah, I am a back end developer. Like I mostly build out APIs and like deal with um manipulation of data, business logic, and that type of stuff. I mean the front end is cool since you were sending shots, towards the back end people. Front end is cool, but
Back end.
you say what?
I was just about to ask, do you prefer the back end?
Yeah, definitely. I don't have time to be figuring out all this stuff about like, how to center a div and like I don't- like
Uh, okay,
like
that's valid.
you know what I mean? It works on Internet Explorer, but then you go to Safari and then it's just looking crazy. And it looks good on an iPhone, but then I
Yeah,
don't have time for all that, man. It's just like,
that's
what do
valid.
you need this thing to do? I could come up with the logic to make you to have you get the data you want for the calculations to come out the way you want. And I know, like, regardless of what the front end is gonna look like, I know I did my part. I don't need
You did what you need to do. It's like hands is clean. Y'all take it from here.
exactly. I don't want to know what browser it's running on, and you know uh what the color of the button is going to be. The
I,
thing is, you say what?
I feel that. That's a valid reason. I can see that point of view.
So I get what you're saying. Like it's kind of, in a way, it is kind of dull. And then when you try to, I think it's easier to talk to like regular people about front end development because they can see it, right? It's easier to discuss, like talk about something you can see. But like
Yeah,
me as a backend developer, when I start telling people about,
raps. Yeah,
APIs and stuff like that, they're lost. They're like, what do they pay you for?
yeah, they just know that you doing something with a computer. They just put you in that realm. You deal with a computer. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. They're like, yeah, my friend's a computer guy. And the funny thing is, they'll just say you a web designer. And you like, web design is a completely different thing from web development.
Yeah,
And I don't even do anything that you can see. I'm a backend developer, and they're
yeah,
they're like, yeah, yeah, whatever. Like you fix computers, right?
yeah.
So
They tell you to if their computer broke, hey, I know some guy who can fix it.
you've been working remotely for a few years now. That's why you're in Colombia, correct?
Yes, sir.
Making sure I got all the details right from our conversation last time. So yeah, I mean, how you like working remote, and like how has, like, the thing is, me, never actually, I worked in the office for like 3 months, and then the pandemic happened, and then I've been remote since. So I don't have a real feel for like what it's like to work in an office for a real for a long period. If you could kind of compare the two, and then tell me maybe is there anything you miss about working in the office, and how has it been working remote these last few years? And sorry, I'm like throwing these little like sub questions in. Did you become remote during the pandemic as a result of the pandemic, or was it, or were you remote before that?
Yeah, that's man, that's a good question because I'm a big fan of the remote life. But to answer your question, I I became remote. I guess you could technically say the pandemic is what kind of opened my mind to remote work because I was in the office at one of my jobs in the past. It was in Ohio, but we were in the office. Pandemic hits, and they're weary about having us come to the office still, but they're like we kind of need people to come in, so they just like slowly start saying, all right, we'll come in every day, but Friday you can stay at home, and then we'll come in just twice a day, twice 2 days out of the week, stuff like that. And once he started to see like the productivity didn't change, and this is as we're getting deeper into COVID, you know what I'm saying? So he's seeing the productivity not change. He's like, all right, well, we just work remote. And so even though I didn't stay there too long, I think it was maybe like a year, the job I was working at, they became comfortable with us like working remote. And
Hmm.
so that's when I was like, all right, for my next job, I'm gonna try remote. I'm gonna just look for strictly remote type jobs because I like the flexibility of it. I love the freedom of it. I like the the there's no nuance of having to go somewhere and come back every day. Like, you know what I mean? You just get straight to work when you need to. So That's kind of like what started my journey of like remote work. And then my past 3, 4 jobs have all been remote work. I haven't been in an office since before the pandemic, I think. Yeah. Since when was COVID? 2020? Or am I tripping? 2018?
It started. It was, if I recall correctly, COVID started like 2000, late 2019. At least that's when I was starting to hear about it. But it was still like in China. It wasn't as widespread. 2020 is like when it hit the states and um started becoming a bigger issue out here.
Yeah,
So
that's that was definitely when things started to get different in the tech space. But I would say it got better, and it got different in like in a good way, in my opinion, because now we started to see people's productivity can still be just as effective even if they're not coming into the office. So, but to answer like your other parts of that question, things that I miss about the office, I, I do miss the I guess like the connection that you can make with people like face to face and like having a conversation at the water cooler. It sounds corny now, but it's like that's a moment you can share with someone, and I think that those moments are important when it comes to just development as a person and relationship that you make. So it's like it's definitely different from having that relationship on camera with someone because it's not the same. So I do miss that aspect. I can't really think of too much outside of that though, because everything else, the freedom, the flexibility to move around, being able to, like I said, be where I'm at and just work. I don't have to worry about traffic and going different places. Um, that's that's something that I don't think I could ever give up just to say I talked to Brad at the water cooler. I'm gonna be honest.
is Brad a real coworker or you just made that up?
Just made that up.
Yeah, I definitely agree, right? Not to mention that you can um continue to deliver the work and continue to be a good employee or run your business from anywhere around the world. So that's like enabled a lot of people to be digital nomads like us, right? um I'm assuming you're not on vacation right now, right? You're still working and yeah, doing your thing and just fitting in sightseeing and stuff
Yep.
outside of that. So yeah, I mean, for that reason alone, I mean, one, I didn't get to work in the office that much, like, and since I was young, like I always saw myself as being a digital nomad before like I even knew what the term was. So I mean, it kind of worked out perfectly. Um, and I think like that's a perfect segue into, yeah. I mean, how are things going in? This is your second time in Colombia.
Third time.
Um, third time. Ah, yeah. When we met, it was the second time. So third time in Colombia.
Yep.
Can you let you already told me some of the stuff, some of your experience in Colombia. I mean, can you share some of that with the audience?
Yeah.
How were your past trips and how's the current trip going? And what are you planning to do with the rest of the time here? And what have you done so far?
For sure, man. Like the first time I came out here it was in last year in November for one of my good friends. It was his birthday here. And so we stayed out here for a week in El Poblado, fell in love with it. I was like, I didn't know a place like this could exist in the world. And I was just like, yeah,
What
this
do you mean by that? Like,
like
is
uh
that magical?
it's magic because it's a different perspective to like how things are run in the United States, I think sometimes. Just like I feel like I saw some. It was very eye opening to see like so many people working remote first and foremost. Like everyone just at a coffee shop and just they're here in warm weather, just every day, shorts and short sleeve, just got a computer and a coffee. And like to me, that's like what I embody. I love to do that in general, just grab a coffee and go work. And like of course, there's Starbucks and stuff in the United States, but that stuff it ain't really the best coffee and it's overpriced if we being honest. So it's like here it's just like they known for that type of stuff anyways. So it was just very eye-opening to see that. And then of course like it's just beautiful people here. So like the women are gorgeous. So it's good. That helps productivity, having eye candy around. You know what I mean? Like I don't see how that would hurt in any.
The mountains don't motivate you. That there's beautiful views here.
I mean, the mountains help, but I don't think they can really come close to a woman. You know what I'm saying? So
No, I agree. I agree.
yeah, so it's stuff like that that just kind of just put things into perspective for me. Like there's a different world outside the United States that we've been accustomed to for so long, and we kind of just think that's what life is and has to be. So Colombia was just like my first exposure to like a different side of that, and that's why I love it, and I'm gonna keep coming back.
So I can't remember if I asked you this before. You love Colombia, but have you been? Did you go? Did you visit anywhere else before coming to Colombia? And if so, what was that experience like?
Yeah, like other countries outside of South America, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to Italy before. I've been to Tokyo. I've been to.
And you were
Uh,
working remotely this whole time, and in all of those places, or was it more like vacation?
so those were vacation. Those were
Okay.
vacation. Italy was studying abroad. Tokyo, I was on vacation. Colombia is the first place where I've went out the country and continued to work. Um,
Okay.
so there's definitely places I have on my list that I still want to go check out. I would love to like spend some time and work somewhere in Europe, you know what I mean, or Africa. But I think Colombia is very easy to adapt here because it's the same time zone as a lot of areas in the United States. The language barrier isn't too heavy compared to like trying to learn Japanese or German or something. Um, the dollar is stronger here, so it's like you can kind of live a little bit more comfortably here. So I think that's why Colombia is like a good choice for that type of lifestyle. But there's definitely other places that I have on my list that I need to check out.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Though, like everything you listed there, um, like cost of living, weather, um, lifestyle, culturally, all of those reasons uh, are the reasons. Like I kind of decided to come to Colombia, also, especially being being from Florida or having like roots in Florida. It it makes sense because like it's a 2 hour, 2 maybe 3 hour flight depending on where you're gonna go in Colombia. I mean, obviously, like there's other South American countries you could go to, but Brazil, which is a place that like I was considering, right? They don't speak Spanish; they speak Portuguese. So, and I don't speak any Spanish. So, but I mean, I still want to check out Brazil. Um, I'm actually thinking about Argentina, but it gets a little bit cold there from
Yeah, I
what I've
heard that.
heard. Yeah, and there's Chile and Peru and other places I've been speaking to people about. But oh, and somebody told me I have a friend in New Mexico. Actually, go ahead.
I said you've been to Cartagena and Bogota before, right? Both of them.
I, I've been to Cartagena, not to Bogota.
Is Bogota on your list or no?
Um, I'm like warming up to the idea. People told me what I've heard is like there's not like it's a little bit colder, not a whole lot more to do, but there's still like some nice things to check out, like nice museums and stuff like that. It is the capital of Colombia, so there's definitely going to be some cool spots, some cool landmarks to check out.
Yeah.
Um, but basically, I've heard what what people have told me is it's good to go check it out, and there might be even a like stronger tech, like a good strong like tech or digital nomad presence out there. But the weather is not as great, and so it's not really like somewhere you want to stay long term. And even though like we're digital nomads, I try like not to move around too much, just so like it's not disruptive to work.
Yeah.
But I mean, long story short, yeah, I do want to check out Bogota. I'm leaving in September, but probably like when I come back, I'm gonna make I'm gonna see if I can make a trip out there. And Santa Marta is also on my list. Um,
I just heard that name recently, Santa Marta. Is that where's that in reference to Colombia?
so Santa Marta is closer to Cartagena, so like it's a coastal city. So you have the beaches, um, but you also have um, kind of like Medellin type vibes, like with the mountains in the background, a
Check
lot
that
of
out.
nature, the river and stuff like that. So you Medellin, from what I understand, Santa Marta is a mix of Medellin and Cartagena, where you have the beach and you have the mountains, and you can experience a little bit of both. Um, and
Mm,
it's just hotter and but smaller than both cities. Um, but I've heard really good things. You're gonna
okay.
ask something?
Nah, I was just I need to go check that out then because I've been wanting to check out a South American country with the ocean next to it. That's like if Medellin had an ocean, I think it'd be like top tier. Like I don't think it'd be where else to go. But that's the one thing where it's like, dang, I would like to be on a beach right now, you know. So I need to check that out.
So yeah, I mean, I have the same sentiment. Like I definitely love Medellin way. Like I like Medellin way more than I liked Cartagena. For so many reasons. One of them is like the Cartagena is like so hot and humid. But yeah, I do miss the beach. Being a like living on the coast, like most of my life, coming from the Bahamas, then living in Florida. Like I'm used to being able to drive 10, 15 minutes and going to the beach. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that I mean for the same reason that's why I want to go to Santa Marta. So that's my recommendation. Go over there. I've heard like amazing things and should be pretty dope. I was gonna ask you though, have you I have there's no beaches here, but there's a river and like waterfalls and stuff. Have you been to any of those?
I'm trying to think. I've been to River Waterfall. Probably, but I'm drawing a blank on what it's called and where it was at though.
I
If you say some names, I might remember, but I can't remember going to a river or water.
haven't been to any.
Oh, I thought you said you have been to some. Okay.
No, I haven't been to any, and I think like I'm trying to use that as a way to like make me feel better
Yeah.
about the not having a beach. I'm like, okay, maybe if I like check out like the rivers and stuff, um, maybe
Yeah.
that'll make me miss the beach a little bit less. But I haven't had a chance to do that.
I mean, that's kind of like what they say when like you in the United States and like if you don't got the ocean next to you, well, we got a big lake though. You know, it's like
I don't know about swimming in the lake. I don't know about that.
yeah, nah. But that's how we usually make up for it. Like we got a lake, so
Yeah, I don't know about swimming in the lake, but I mean, yeah, for some reason I feel like a river is like less scary because like it's running water. So I don't feel like there's like alligators or nothing or anything crazy in there.
you
Lake
try.
is just standing water. You say what?
I said you try that river out and let me know if there's anything wild in there.
No, I'm definitely like before I leave or like as soon as I come back, I'm going to I want to go check out um a river slash waterfall. Um what like yeah, I want to do that so then I'll have like a go-to destination when I'm like missing the beach. I can be like, okay, at least this is I got some type of like water around me.
Right, right.
But yeah, I'm just gonna move on to the next question. Uh, so yeah, I mean, you're a developer. You've been doing development for a while. You've worked for a bunch of different companies, but now you're getting into the content game. I think that's how like we connected almost because I was like on social media looking for um, content creators to connect with. Um, I saw one of your raps, and then I think we talked, and I found out you were in Medellin, and then that's how we connected. So, tell us a little bit about like how you got into the content game, how that's going, and yeah, what was the reason behind it?
Yeah, uh, got into the content game. I would say because I personally feel like I have like a lot of information about tech that I want to give back to the tech world in some way, because I feel like I've been able to benefit off tech so much in my life. I was granted so many opportunities, gone so many places, and I want to give back in some capacity. And the content seems just like a simple, at least the content that I strive to make, it seems like a more digestible format of understanding tech. And I love that aspect of it. So that's kind of why I got into it, to like show like the simplistic side of being in code. You don't necessarily have to be Albert Einstein to work a computer at all, you know? So, and then also I always want to like leave my imprint on the world when it's all said and done. I want to say, you know, have something I can look back on and say, this is what I gave the world, you know, and I can be proud of the work that I put in. So that's why I got into the content space.
Okay, and how long has it how long has it been since like you made that decision, posted your first video to now?
You said, how's it been?
Like how long has it been?
How long has it been? Not long, actually. Like my first rap was it's like summer of last year. So I'm
Summer.
probably like 14, 15 months in. So it's really not too long.
And you got like 2 million followers on Instagram right now, right?
Okay, well, so let me back up a little bit then. So I've been doing like entire content, because like the code, the YouTube videos, things like that. I've been doing that since like 20. It was like right. It was during the pandemic, so like around 2019. So maybe like 5 years now. And that is what like kind of built my audience on Instagram and YouTube. But as of recently, I've kind of like downsized and focused more on like the code flows, and like my TikTok is just strictly that. My Instagram is strictly that. My YouTube still has other videos, but it's going forward strictly just the code flows. Um,
Code
and
Flow is your raps about um, tech or software development topics, right?
exactly, it's my way of taking it can be any software development topic, and trying to teach it within a 60-second time frame. Like all the videos are under 60 seconds, and I try my best to make a good song, pretty much. Like, you know what I mean? It's not effective if they're not gonna want to hear it. So that's been like the challenging part for me, is like, how do I make it educational and still be something that they want to listen to? Because sometimes we can make songs that are like they're educational completely, but I don't want to hear that. It does not sound good. So I'm trying to find that balance of those two worlds, and blend them together, you know.
You're not trying to make a song about CSS classes and the difference between IDs and
I know I could. That sounds like a difficult topic, because I don't really touch stuff like that no more. But I mean, if that's what someone would need to get a better understanding, I'd be open to doing that.
dope. You got you know what? You got to make a song about centering a div, bro, because that's what
Just,
everybody want to know.
that's it. Nothing else. Just
Yeah, like all the different ways you can center a div. You need to drop a song about that. I think that would be a hit.
the crazy thing is, like in Flutter, like they got rid of that problem, like centering divs. Like it's just there's a widget called center, so everything just gets centered automatically. And like when I saw that, I was like, they answered some prayers, because that used to annoy me, the centering the divs in HTML. That was crazy.
um, cool. So okay, so content overall, you've been doing for roughly 5 years, and then you've been doing code flows for the last 14 years. And it sounds like code flows is like you say
14
what?
months. 14
14
months.
months. 14 months. My bad.
I appreciate it. You made me sound like a legend in the game. I like that. years. That's crazy.
Hey, I mean, you competing with the likes of Jay-Z. If you, I mean, not what like when since Jay-Z been in the game longer than that.
Yeah, he been in longer, but
Yeah,
has he been hot that whole time? I don't know. I don't
but
know. But yeah,
but
not
14 months. Yeah, code flows 14 months. Um, yeah, so centering a div, dropping. Uh, we're instead of a song, we're just gonna make a whole album about centering a div.
nah.
That's dropping in January.
You got that one. I'll song, and then we on to the next topic. I can't, I can't. Not a whole album. No, sir.
It's popular. You gotta you gotta
Um,
ride the wave.
it's hard for me to like stay on a single topic with the stuff that I rap about too. Like that's why like a lot of the, I mean, all the videos are 60 seconds because after a while, I don't have nothing else to say about this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. I mean, it's good to have it condensed so it's easier to watch, but it's also part of it is I really don't have nothing to say after 60 seconds about this topic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
without it getting like too technical and
yeah, it
boring,
can get
right?
real copy and paste out the book, and then they like now they don't care anymore. They're like, all right, I didn't come for a college course, you know. So
They didn't come for an MIT lecture.
yeah, 60 seconds is the perfect cutoff for the content that I'm making.
Yeah, make sense. And I mean that's like the typical length of a reel or YouTube short anyway. So that's perfect. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, I mean, you could use Chat GPT to help you come up with some of these rhymes, man.
You know, I've actually used. I saw Chat GPT because I was just bored one day, and I was just like, make me a rap about Flutter and Chat GPT, and I can say like with 100% confidence, I'm not scared of like AI taking over code flows because they're not in that bad yet. It's real kids bop esque, you know what I mean? Like ABC type rap, and it's just like okay, I'm good then because they rapping to ABC with this, you know what I'm saying? But
But you're dropping the double and the triple entendres, competing with Jay Z.
Jay Z your
Chat G-
favorite?
huh?
Is Jay Z your favorite rapper?
Is Jay Z my favorite rapper? Hmm.
Top five?
Yeah, probably top five. I would say like favorite rapper would probably be the Cole or Kendrick. So you know where I stood, like as far as like the recent beef.
Yeah.
Even though I was neutral,
Wait,
I still feel like the Canadian took the L.
how was you neutral then if you was on Kendrick's side?
No, I mean like you could have a preference, but I mean you still giving credit where it's due. So like when Drake was dropping bars and they were making sense, I was giving him his credit, but I was still like, I think Kendrick's gonna come out on top, and based off of the numbers, being as neutral as possible, I feel like you know Kendrick came out with the W.
Nah, I feel
It
that.
sounds like you don't agree.
No, I do agree with that. I'm a Kendrick fan. Like he's definitely top five for me. He might
Yeah,
be my favorite rapper, honestly. But
yeah,
I was definitely on both sides looking at like, Drake had a nice little response, but I just think that when it came to Kendrick, it was more so you just not a good man. Like Kendrick was just like talking to his soul, like how he is as a person. Drake was kind of like, it's your mom. She got kids by. I mean, not your mom, but your wife got kids by another man. Just extra stuff. And Kendrick's
yeah.
like, now focus right here, Playboy. Like you're not a good person. And like that's what just held more weight. So I was on the Kendrick side as well. I can't even lie.
so so there's like multiple directions we can go with this. Like we literally just me and my co-host literally just had a discussion about like how AI was used in the course of that beef and like how AI is impacting rap. But before we even go there, I wanted to ask like okay, so you're in the tech space, you want to create content, but then you end up doing code flows. Were you always interested in creating music, and then it just happened to like come together where you tied these two things together? How did you decide to start doing code flows?
I've always, let me not say always, I say like around late high school, either late high, yeah, like junior, senior year of high school. Um, I kind of got into rap. My homie Major, rest in peace, but he a good friend of mine. I would hang around him at his crib all the time, and my other homie DH, both of them were rapping like way before me, and I just kind of like was just like in the room, and I would just see them, they would be working like crazy, just making songs like every day, but I had no idea like how to like structure bars or anything like that. So, but like once I got around it and just started like falling in love with it more, I think it just became like a hobby. Just like I just enjoyed creating music. Didn't even really care to like sell music, or I wouldn't necessarily focus on like I got to become the next J. Cole and blow up. I just genuinely enjoy listening to a beat, thinking of something, and then expressing those thoughts. I like that whole process. So when I got into code, it was kind of like I'm just living in two different worlds because it's like they couldn't really exist. Like when I'm in the tech world, I can't really say I'm a rapper because they associate that with the thug. But when I'm in the rap space, I say I'm intended like he's lame, he's a dork. So it's like I'm in two different worlds at the same time, and it used to like it used to be really stressful. Like two passions of mine that I can't embrace fully in any setting. I gotta kind of like switch between both. So code,
Literally code switching.
yeah, exactly. Unintended, but like
Yeah.
that's like the code flows is a way for me to like it's a reward to myself to say, hey, you can do both, and it don't got to be corny, it don't got to have any type of negative stereotype, and it can all be in fun and education. So that's kind of like I've always like been in like I've always like liked rapping, but it's just kind of been on the back burner because I didn't know how to balance both of those worlds as I was getting into tech.
Yeah, because I mean, tech is really like under the umbrella of like, I guess, corporate, um I guess, yeah, corporate life, right?
Yeah,
um I mean, most companies start off as startups that are um super like open and not so restrictive and stuff like that, but then as companies become bigger, they become more, yeah, they become more corporate, and you know how corporate is, like you have to speak a certain way, keep maintain a certain image and stuff like that, and it's kind of difficult to tie in something like rap, which is seen as more of like street and has some, let's say, interesting elements, right? But that don't necessarily um that you don't necessarily need to include in rap, but right, rap is associated with those things, right? And corporate is like super squeaky clean. How do we not mess up money from our investors? How do we keep our sponsors going, etc.? How do we not offend people and stuff like that?
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I think like that's going away. Like rap is becoming more mainstream, and um and like the brand of rap that's associated with um like the street per se is not the only flavor of rap that's out there now. Like
yeah,
and yeah, and it's like more accessible and more palatable in a like corporate setting.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think your code flows are dope. Like every time I hear them, I'm like, okay, that's
I
like
appreciate
I didn't think you could make a song that catchy about API requests.
it.
I
Hey
think
man, I
that was the
appreciate it.
last one I heard. You say what?
I said I really appreciate that, man, for real.
Yeah, I mean, um, yeah, like I'm definitely a fan of code flows, and just like I'm always like looking to see what you're doing next and like checking your Instagram and stuff. So definitely want to see more of that, and hopefully like we can continue to collaborate and stuff. But I think like I had one more question for you before we wrap up, right? We talked about you using ChatGPT and feeling like ChatGPT is no competition for your bars,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right. So, so yeah, like in the Kendrick versus Drake beef, we had the use of the Tupac AI voice, and that didn't go well for Drake, and I think that was the L for him.
hmm
Um, but that's an interesting like use case for API for AI, right? And like as time goes on, we're like integrating AI into more things, whether it be art, whether it be web development, etc. So do you're not using ChatGPT to like write you lyrics or to be your ghostwriter like Drake, but
absolutely.
how are you using AI tools on the development end? Are you using ChatGPT or any of the other LLM flavors out there to come up with video ideas? Yeah, just like how has the AI, um, I guess, movement impacted you, if in any way,
Yeah,
um, in the last few years or months?
for sure. First, I like how you structured that question. That was a great tie-in. I was like, okay, he should be on TV somewhere. But
Appreciate it.
let me. So as far as like the AI that I use, I'm usually using like GitHub Copilot. It's like a plugin. I guess you can call it a plugin for like when you're developing in Visual Studio Code, and if you're like writing a lot of repetitive tasks or code, it can get very tedious to like copy and paste from all these files. But with GitHub Copilot, it kind of takes the wheel for you sometime, and it's like, okay, I've seen you write this file the past three. I've seen you write this code in the past three files. I'm assuming you will want to write the same thing in this one, and it'll like spit out the entire thing for you. Of course, if you don't want to use it, just type your own thing. But if you do, just I believe you hit enter and then it fills it out for you. So it's definitely been saving me tremendous amounts of time to not have to like repeat boilerplate code. And then some other technologies that I use is like obviously ChatGPT for certain tech questions. If I need to understand why I'm having a cores issue with my API, I could Google that, or I could go talk to ChatGPT and have a little stronger step-by-step instruction on like where the problem might be at. I've also checked out a new LLM. I think it's called Clyde. It's similar to ChatGPT. Claude, that's what it is. Claude. It's similar to ChatGPT. It has some type of advantage over it. I don't want to mess it up and say like I totally know what it is, but I think it's something dealing with like you can kind of it starts to learn based off like preset data that you give it to give better answers in the future. And ChatGPT doesn't really do that to that level, I believe. So I would say those technologies and AI are kind of like what I'm using it for right now. Um, but I know that there's millions out there, and I definitely have barely scratched the tip of the iceberg. But I'm still keeping my eye out for anything new.
Yeah, I was gonna like I guess my sub question or my follow up question was gonna be like what tools do you recommend, like AI based tools do you recommend? It sounds like GitHub Copilot is one of your go tos. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to recommend one. If you, I mean, I know developers, we hate writing documentation, right? Do you have anything to help you? Like, do you have to write documentation at any
See,
point?
I was trying to stay away from the lane because now it looks like I'm making like I'm plagiarizing my stuff. I don't plagiarize, but
Yeah,
I definitely use some AI to like reformat certain structures like YouTube titles, descriptions, things like that.
yeah.
Articles. If I needed to sound more formal, I definitely use it for those type of things. But like spitting out a whole paper or a whole rap, I can't bring myself to do that. I just can't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as an MC, right? That would be
Yeah, just what
Kendrick. Kendrick would frown upon that, you know.
exactly. Exactly.
um, but I was gonna say, there's one particular tool that's AI based. That's called Scribe AI. That's really good for documentation.
Scribe.
So Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's scribe.ai or just scribe.com. Either way, like if you, especially for someone that builds user interfaces and stuff, if you have to write documentation on how to use XYZ feature, like you literally just click on the UI and go through the user flow and it'll create the documentation for you. Something that would take like 3 hours to write.
Yeah.
Like and take ugly screenshots of it, like it actually creates documentation for you in like 5 minutes. Um, so that's my my AI recommendation to you and the audience. I mean, I've spoken about it a bunch of times on the podcast, but I just wanted to share that with you.
No, I
uh,
appreciate it. I'm gonna check that out because I that could definitely come in handy for me. I hate writing documentation, so I'm gonna check that out.
yeah. Let's see here. I think that's all the questions I had for you. Um, is there anything like you want to plug? I know we got a gift grab coming out in December.
Yeah, I like that deadline. I'm with that deadline. Yeah, man. I got code flows on the way that I'm being consistent with that. So definitely look out for those. Um, Still having fun with just the development process in general. So I'm always trying to figure out a cool game to make or any type of way I can solve a problem somewhere in the world. I want to see how I can use Flutter to kind of handle that obstacle. So yeah, just on the lookout for code flows and then be on the lookout for whatever I'm creating next because I'm gonna just keep creating as long as I'm in development.
You want to drop the social usernames?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the same name, Trey.Codes, Trey.Codes. Also on LinkedIn is Trey Hope if you want to add me there as well. But I'm on those platforms.
Awesome, awesome. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for joining the podcast and letting us know where we can find you. Um, and I think that's where we're gonna end it, guys. If this is again, thank you for tuning in and watching the interview. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know if you like these types of pods. If you enjoyed the interview, if you have like anything you want to add, and let me know if you want to see uh, Trey on the pod again. Definitely go and check out his social media and his content, and give him a follow. And with that, uh, that's the pod.
Appreciate you having me, my man.